Yeah. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Yeah. Lean out on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. Yeah. I woke up empty, but I'm standing on a rock. No hype today, just faith when the flesh wanna stop. Alarm clock ringing, body saying not today. Motivation missing, feelings led me astray. But I learned the secret that the word don't preach. Discipline ain't emotion, it's a choice I reach. Coffee in my hand, scripture on my mind. I can do all things through Christ, that's my battle line. They selling pump-up speeches, temporary high. But when the bass drops out, that's when most men die. I tie my shoes with intention, not with how I feel. My trust is in Yahweh, that's what keeps it real. Gym backpack, warfare on my chest. Not fighting flesh and blood, but I'm conquering this test. Every rep's a prayer, every set's a song. When my strength is gone, I remember who I'm from. Jesus in the trenches, when the grind get low, he whisper, keep pushing, son, I'm running this show. When the fire burns out, and I got nothing left, his grace is sufficient, yeah, that's my breath. Feelings are fickle, but his word stays true. I didn't wake up motivated, I woke up renewed. I didn't wake up motivated, I woke up trusting Jesus. No hype in my veins, just faith that completes us. Discipline over feelings, that's the narrow road I walk. Not leaning on my own strength, I'm trusting that a rock. Motivation dies, his mercy still remains. I show up in the silence, I push through the pain. Not for the applause, not for the worldly gain. I woke up trusting Jesus, that's the victory. Second verse, deeper truth, let me paint the scene. Most days I wake up broken, caught between what's seen and what I know is real. The eternal version now. I don't rely on passion, I rely on sacred vows. Made a covenant with morning, I'ma seek his face. Before I check my phone, I'm diving into grace. The enemy wants me sleeping, wants me comfortable and weak. But I rise like Lazarus every time my body's beat. Yeah, discipline's my worship when the worship ain't easy. Trust is my foundation when the ground gets greasy. They want that instant power, want that microwave faith. But I'm slow cooking, perseverance, let it marinate. Wait, Romans 12:1, my body is a living sacrifice. Holy and acceptable, that's my daily price. Not perfect, just persistent, falling forward on my knees. Finding strength and surrender, that's the gospel's masterpiece. And when David fought Goliath, he didn't feel ready, but he trusted in the name, and his aim was steady. When Peter walked on water, it wasn't cause he was brave, it's cause he fixed his eyes on the one who came to save. So when I'm in the valley and the shadows creeping close, I don't need motivation, I just need the Holy Ghost. He's my strength when I'm weak, my song when I can't speak, my reason to keep moving when my body feels. Didn't wake up motivated, I woke up trusting Jesus. No hype in my veins, just faith that completes us. Discipline over feelings, that's the narrow road I walk. Not leaning on my own strength, I'm trusting in a rock. When motivation dies, his mercy still remains. I show up in the silence, I push through the pain. Not for the applause, not for the worldly gain. I woke up trusting Jesus, and that's how I win the day. Yeah. So whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. This ain't about the feeling, it's about the Father. One step at a time, one day, one breath. Trusting him in life, trusting him in death. I didn't wake up motivated, but I woke up believing. Yeah, yeah, and that's more than enough.
My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Psalm 73:26. Yeah. I found my ceiling, but he showed me heaven. Training gave me walls, Jesus gave me vision. Iron in my hand, sweat dripping down my face. Pushing till I broke, found my mortal place. Body screaming stop, muscles giving out. That's when training whisper what it's all about. Limits ain't the enemy, the mirror showing truth. That this flesh is temporary, passing like my youth. I maxed out my potential, hit that final wall. Realize human strength can only take me so far, that's all. But when I reached my end, that's when grace walked in. Jesus made me broken, said now let's begin. See, training built my discipline, taught me how to fight. But only Christ can show me there's a greater height. He said you're measuring wrong, son, stop counting plays. I'm not impressed by numbers, I'm transforming your faith. Every limitation became an invitation to stop trusting flesh and start my transformation. When I hit my limit, when I couldn't go no more, that's when heaven opened up a different door. Not built on my power, but on his and his grace. Training showed my weakness, Jesus showed his face. Training taught me limits, Jesus taught me hope. When my strength was finished, he gave me room to grow. Not in what I'm lifting, but in who I'm trusting now. Physical got finite, spiritual is infinite somehow. When the weights get heavy and my body breaks down, that's when faith gets activated, that's when I'm heaven bound. I'm measuring my worth by what this flesh can do. Training taught me limits, but Jesus taught me truth. Training taught me limits, but Jesus taught me truth. Second set, deeper revelation coming through. Injuries and setbacks, everything I've been through. Used to crush my spirit when I couldn't perform. Thought my value lived inside this temporary form, but Jesus whispered Jenny while I'm lying on the floor. Your limitations don't define you anymore. See, Paul had that thorn, begged God 3 times for relief, but the answer that he got became his greatest belief. My grace is sufficient when your strength is gone. That's the paradox of power that the cross is built upon. So now I train with purpose, but I rest in peace. Knowing when I'm weakest, that's when I'm released. And it's supernatural strength that don't come from a gym. It comes from trusting fully, comes from trusting him, dim. Every failed attempt, every time I fall short is another chance to learn what Jesus really taught. Their human limitations point at divine provision. Training gave me boundaries, Christ gave me a vision. Moses couldn't speak, but God still used his mouth. Gideon was weakest, but God brought victory out. David was the smallest when he faced the giant down. God don't need your strength, he just needs you to bow down. So when you hit that wall and you can't push through, remember that your limit is where God starts with you. Not the end of the story, just the beginning of grace. Training shows your ceiling, Jesus shows you space. Training taught me hope. Training taught me limits, Jesus taught me hope. When my strength was finished, he gave me room to grow. Not in what I'm lifting, but in who I'm trusting now. Physical got finite, spiritual's infinite somehow. When the weights get heavy and my body breaks down, that's when faith gets activated, that's when I'm heaven bound. Now I'm measuring my worth by what this flesh can do. Training taught me the limits, but Jesus taught me true. Training taught me limits, but Jesus taught me true. He taught me hope, he taught me life, he taught me how to rise beyond the fight. But they who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. This body gonna fail me, but his promise never will. I train to honor him, not to chase the thrill. Find my limits in the iron, find my freedom in the cross. Every boundary's just a doorway to trusting him at any cost. Train taught me limits, but Jesus taught me home. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10.
Yeah, I ran from silence, drowned it out with noise, but his voice cut through the chaos. Couldn't kill that voice. Yeah, 5 a.m. already moving, can't sit with my thoughts. Feel the calendar, stack the schedule, anything to block the questions that keep rising when the world gets still. Anxiety's a monster that I'm trying not to feel, so I train until I'm numb, push until I break. Use the physical exhaustion as my great escape. Burpee sprints and deadlifts, anything that burns. If my body's screaming loud, then my mind can't take its turn. But Jesus met me in the middle of my 5th mile. Whisper through my heartbeat, son, let's talk a while. I try to turn the music up, drown them in the bass, but his presence got louder every time I picked up pace. See, I thought motion was the answer to my restless soul, but God said, all this running, where you tryna go? Can't I work conviction? Can't I live regret? Every rep became a question I was trying to forget. I kept moving, stayed grinding, thought I found my peace in the doing and the pushing, but my soul needs release. He met me in the exhaustion, caught me in the pain, said, you can't run from purpose, I'm calling out your name. I kept my body busy to quiet my mind. Jesus spoke anyway, his voice, I can't outrun his tongue. Try to sweat out the conviction, try to drown out the call, but he's louder than my footsteps, stronger than these walls. When I'm running from the stillness, when I'm hiding in the grind, he meets me in emotion, says, child, what you trying to find? Can't escape his presence, can't silence his grace. I kept my body busy, but Jesus spoke anyway. Thought I had it figured out, stay moving, stay strong. If I never stop to listen, then I can't hear what's wrong. But the Holy Spirit's patient, waits until you're done. Meets you when you're breaking, when you got nowhere to run. I collapsed after my work, I finally hit that wall. That's when heaven got quiet and I heard the call. Not audible, but undeniable, clear as morning light. Stop trying to earn my love, you already won that fight. See, I was working out my demons, training out my shame. fame. Using fitness as a band-aid for the guilt I couldn't name. But Jesus wasn't fooled, he knows my heart's true state. Said I don't need your performance, I need you to wait in my presence, rest in my care. Stop feeling every moment cause you're scared of what's there. The silence isn't empty, it's where healing begins, where confession meets compassion and I deal with your sin. So now I train with purpose, but I also train to hear his voice above the chaos, his peace above my fear. Elijah heard him not in the earthquake or the fire, but in the whisper, in the stillness, that's where God takes you higher. Martha stayed busy while Mary sat and learned. Jesus said the better part is knowing when to turn. From the doing to the being, from the noise to the truth. He's not impressed by hustle, he's after all of you. So when the world says grind harder and your mind says never stop, remember Jesus calling, come to me and drop the weight you're always carrying, the burden of your shame. He meets you in the stillness, he's calling names. I kept my body busy, quiet my mind. Jesus spoke anyway, his voice I cannot run this time. Try to sweat out the conviction, try to drown out the call, but he's louder than my footsteps, stronger than these walls. When I'm running from the stillness, I'm hotter than in the grind. He meets me in emotions, a child was trying to find. Can't escape his presence, can't silence his grace. I kept my body busy, but Jesus spoke anyway. He spoke life, he spoke truth, he spoke peace to my soul. Said stop running from my voice, let me make you whole. Come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. I don't have to run anymore, I can be still. He speaks in the silence, and I'm learning to feel. Not fear, but his presence. Not anxiety, but his peace. I kept my body busy, but Jesus spoke anyway. And I'm finally learning to listen.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. Jeremiah 29:11. Yeah, I wasn't qualified, felt incomplete, but he called me anyway, met me in the street. Mirror full of doubt, staring at my flaws, wondering how God could ever use me for his cause. Resin full of failures, past full of regret. Told myself I'm not the one, I'm not ready yet. Need more training, more experience, more proof, more credentials on the wall before I move. But Jesus whispered softly through my insecurity. I don't call to qualified, I qualify to call believe. Moses said he couldn't speak, had a stuttering tongue, but God said I'll be your man, watch what I begun. Gideon was hiding when the angel called him brave. God saw a mighty warrior inside a fearful slave. So why do I keep waiting for a feeling that won't come? Why do I need permission when the work's already done? He finished it on Calvary, my worthiness was bought. Not by what I'm bringing, but by battles that he fought. I was waiting for a signal, waiting to be more, but he met me in my brokenness and opened up the door. Didn't wait until I had it all together or felt strong. He said your weakness is the canvas where I'll paint my song. I didn't feel ready, Jesus met me where I was. Not when I was perfect, broken, covered in the dust. He don't need my resume, don't need my polished lines. He just needs my yes, my faith, my willingness this time. When I'm feeling inadequate, when I'm drowning in my fear, that's when his power shows up and makes his purpose clear. Not looking for the strongest, he's looking for the real. I didn't feel ready, but Jesus met me still. Second verse, deeper truth, let me break it down. Spent my whole life thinking I'd be ready when I found the perfect combination of experience and skill. But God's been in the waiting, preparing me until I understood the secret. It was never about me, it was always about surrender, always about belief. Not in my ability, but in his power working through this cracked and broken vessel that he's making new. Peter walked on water before he learned to swim. Abraham left home before he knew where he'd been sent to him. Mary said yes to an angel before she understood the plan. God's calling don't make sense to our limited human span. So I stepped out of the boat while the storm was still raging. For completely unprepared, but his grace was engaging. Every fear I'm facing, every doubt that I carry becomes a testimony when I trust and don't tarry. He meets me in my mess, in my unfinished state. Says I'm not looking for perfect, I'm looking for faith. When David faced Goliath, they said he was too young, but God had been preparing him when no one else had sung his praises or believed. But God's our shepherd's faithfulness, in the hidden, in the small, that's where he builds his best. So when you feel too broken, when you feel too far behind, remember that his calling isn't based on what you find inside. It's out just based on what he's placed within your soul. He meets you where you are and
makes you whole. I didn't feel ready, Jesus met me where I was. Now when I was perfect, broken, covered in the dust. He don't need my resume, don't need my polished lines. He just needs my yes, my faith, my willingness this time. When I'm feeling inadequate, when I'm drowning in my fear, that's when his power shows up and makes his purpose clear. Not looking for the strongest, he's looking for the real. I didn't feel ready, but Jesus met me still. He met me in my weakness, turned it into strength. Took my inadequacy and went to any lane to prove his love was greater than my deepest doubt could feel. I didn't feel ready, but Jesus made me real. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. I'm done waiting for a version of myself that don't exist. Don't believe in the lie that I'm not on his list. He called me in my mess, he called me in my pain. He called me when I thought I had nothing left to gain. And that's when miracles happen. Not in my perfection, but in his presence. I didn't feel ready, but Jesus met me where I was. And that's exactly where he wanted me to be.
Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. Yeah. Some days victory looked like getting out of bed, when faithfulness was all I had. That's what Jesus said. Woke up feeling empty, weighed the world on my chest. Depression whispering lies, saying stay down, just rest. But I laced up my shoes, though my soul felt heavy. Progress wasn't pretty, progress was just being ready to face another day when I got nothing left to give. Sometimes survival is the bravest way to live. Social media selling highlights, everybody winning big, but they don't show the mornings when you can barely dig deep enough to find a reason to keep pushing through, when the finish line is just making it to afternoon. No PRs today, no records getting broke, just me versus my mind, and I'm barely staying afloat. But I showed up anyway, put my feet on the floor. Jesus met me in that moment, said that's what I'm here for. Not the days you're feeling strong, not when everything's aligned, but the days you show up broken, that's when I'm glorified. See, faithfulness ain't flashy, consistency ain't cute, but it's the daily grind of showing up that bears the greatest fruit. When I couldn't lift the weight, when I couldn't see the gain, just showing up became my worship in the middle of the pain. He don't measure by results, he measures by the heart. And sometimes just beginning is the most courageous part. Some days progress was just showing up when I had nothing left to give, but Jesus filled my cup. Not about the numbers, not about the pace. Progress was just fighting for another day of grace. When the world says go harder and I can barely stand, that's when showing up becomes my act of faith is playing. Not every day's a victory lap, not every day I'm strong, but some days progress was just showing up and holding on. Second verse, real talk, let me paint it true. Some seasons are for growing, they're just about to prove that you won't quit when it's ugly, won't fall when it gets hard. That your commitment to the process is your worship to the Lord. Noah built an ark when there was no rain in sight. Day after day, hammered in his hand, ridiculous in their eyes. But faithfulness don't need applause or validation from the crowd. Sometimes obedience is silent, head down, not too loud. I've had workouts where I cried through every single set we're just completing. It felt like my personal Everest, where the enemy was screaming, you're wasting all your time. But Jesus said keep going, victory's already mine. Progress isn't linear, healing isn't clean. Some days you're just surviving in the space between the promise and the fulfillment, the prayer and the reply. But God sees every effort, counts every tear you cry. So I stopped comparing journeys, stopped measuring by sight, started trusting that obedience is its own kind of fight. And some days the win is just refusing to give in to the voices saying quit. That's where real strength begins. So job lost, everything but never cursed his name. Sat in ashes, broken hearted, but his faith remained. Joseph spent years in prison for a crime he didn't do, but he showed up every morning, God was working something new. Jesus in Gethsemane, sweat like drops of blood, said not my will but yours, pushed through when it was rough. So when you're in your garden and you don't know what to do, just show up to the Father, he'll show up for you. Every small obedience, every faithful step is building something greater than you know or could expect. Some days progress was just showing up when I had nothing left to give, but Jesus filled my cup. Not about the numbers, not about the pace. Progress was just fighting for another day of grace. When the world says go harder and I can barely stand, that's when showing up becomes my act of faith is playing. Not every day's a victory lap, not every day I'm strong, but some days progress was just showing up and holding on to promises,
when I can't see the end. Holding on to Jesus, my Redeemer and my friend. Progress was just showing up, and He met me there again. The one who endures to the end will be saved. Now, Matthew 24:13. I'm not perfect, I'm not polished, I'm just present. And that's enough for Him, He calls it holy reverence. When you can't give your best, just give what's left. He multiplies the offering, 5 loaves, 2 fish, no stress. Some days progress was just showing up, and heaven called it faithfulness. So I'll keep showing up one day at a time, 'cause Jesus showed up for me. Now it's my turn to shine, not with endurance, but with endurance. Not with power, but with perseverance. Some days progress was just showing up, and that was enough.
For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1:7. Yeah. I built my body strong, not how what I was feeling, but Jesus went deeper, brought the real healing. Started lifting weights to feel some control. Thought if I got stronger, I could fix my soul. Bench press became my therapy, squats became my shield. Trying to build armor over wounds that never heal. Fear of being vulnerable, fear of being weak, fear of what they see if I ever let them peek. Behind the muscle, past the confidence I fake, there's a broken little boy who's afraid he might break. So I trained harder, push until it hurt. Thought physical dominance could cover up the dirt of insecurity and trauma buried deep inside. Use my strength as camouflage, a place where fear could hide. But Jesus saw right through it, saw the war within. Saw me trying to be invincible to cover up my sin. Not just wrong I done, but wounds I didn't choose. The fear of being human, the terror I might lose. He said strength is good, but son, it's not enough. Let me hear what's underneath, that's the deeper stuff. I could build my body, make it fortress strong and tall, but only Jesus has the power to tear down every wall that fear had built around my heart, around my wounded soul. Physical might can't fix what only heaven makes whole. I train my strength, Jesus healed my fear, built my body up, but He wiped away the tears that I never let fall, that I buried down deep. He went to the places that I never let speak. Muscles can't protect you from the battles in your mind, but the blood of Christ is stronger than the fear that keeps you blind. I trained my body hard, thought that made me brave, but Jesus healed my fear when He rose up from the grave. Let me take it deeper, paint the real scene. Fear ain't always obvious, it hides in the unseen. Fear of intimacy, master's independence. Fear of being known, disguised as self-reliance. I was strong for everybody, never let them see me cry. Built my reputation on the armor and the pride. But late at night when I'm alone, when the weights are all away, that's when fear will whisper all the things I couldn't say. You're not enough, you're gonna fail. They'll see right through your act. One mistake and it's over, there's no coming back. So I trained through the anxiety, ran from the pain. Thought sweat could wash away what was written in my brain, but Jesus met me in the darkness, held me when I broke. Said I'm not scared of your fear, let me in where it chokes. Your joy, your peace, your ability to rest. I died to heal this too, not just sin but all the rest. He touched the places where the trauma lived and breathed, spoke life into the corners where fear had made me bleed. Internally, eternally, started healing from within. Not with weights but with His presence, not with might but discipline. Of surrender, of confession, of letting down my guard. Turns out real strength is trusting God when life gets hard. Perfect love casts out all fear, that's what scripture says. Not perfect strength, not perfect abs, not perfect in my ways, but Jesus' perfect sacrifice. His love that conquered death, that's the power that can silence every fearful breath. When Peter walked on water, started sinking in the storm, Jesus reached His hand out, kept him safe and warm. Not because Pete was fearless, but because he had the power to hold him in the chaos in that most terrifying hour. So I don't have to be fearless, I just have to be His. Let His love become the fortress where my broken spirit lives. My strength, Jesus healed my fear, filled my body up, but He wiped away the tears that I never let fall, that I buried down deep. He went to the places that I never let speak. Muscles can't protect you from the battles in your mind, but the blood of
of Christ is stronger than the fear that keeps you blind. I train my body hard, thought that made me brave, but Jesus healed my fear when he rose up from the grave. Now I train from a place of freedom, not from fear. Build my strength with purpose, knowing Jesus holds me here in his perfect love. I'm anchored, I'm secure, I train my strength, but Jesus is the cure. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Psalm 56:3. I'm learning that it's okay to not be bulletproof, to let the armor fall and stand in God's truth. Strength is beautiful, but healing is deeper. I trained to be a warrior, Jesus made me a keeper of his grace, his peace, his love that conquers fear. I don't have to be perfect, just present knowing he is near. I train my strength, but Jesus healed my fear, and now I'm finally free to be both strong and surrendered, both powerful and healed.
Yeah. I was counting their blessings while missing my own, but God was building something that can't be rushed or cloned. Yeah. Scrolling through the highlight reels, everybody winning fast. Meanwhile, I'm still grinding, feeling like I'm coming last. They got the house, the car, the platform, the fame. I'm still in the basement, wondering when it's my turn in the game. Started questioning my process, doubting God's design, thinking maybe I got skipped, maybe I'm wasting time. But Jesus whispered gently through my impatient heart, I'm not building fast food, I'm creating art. See, microwaves are quick, but ovens take their time. One gives you instant, the other gives you refined. Character that's tested, faith that's been through fire. Foundations that are solid, built to go high. David wasn't crowned a moment, he was anointed king. Spent years in the wilderness running from everything, but God was building courage, teaching him to trust that his timing isn't late, it's always right and just. So while I'm in the waiting, feeling left behind, God's crafting something greater than what I had in mind. I was measuring by their timeline, racing their race, but God said slow down, son, I'm building at my pace, not behind, just on purpose. Every season has its role. He's not just changing circumstances, he's transformed my soul. I thought I was falling behind, Jesus was building me slowly, taking his time with my life, cause he knows me, he holds me while I'm comparing my chapter 3 to that chapter 10. God said different books, different journeys. Trust me again, the waiting isn't wasted, the process isn't pain. It's preparation for the promises, the mercy and the rain. That water's what he's planting deep inside my soul. But he was making me whole, but he was making me whole, but he was making me whole, but he was making me whole. Second verse, deeper revelation coming through. Comparison's a thief, that'll steal your breakthrough. I was so busy watching everybody else's lane, didn't see the miracles happening in my own terrain. God was building patience when I wanted speed, teaching me contentment when I wanted greed, showing me that character matters more than clout, that the hidden years of faithfulness is what he's all about. Moses spent 40 years in the desert learning how to lead, before he ever faced Pharaoh or met Israel's need. Joseph was in prison for dreams seemed so far, but God was positioning him to become who he would are. Jesus waited 30 years before his ministry began. Carpentry and silence, all part of heaven's plan. So who am I to rush what God is taking time to grow? The deepest roots are planted where the surface doesn't show. I'm learning that comparison kills what God is birthing fresh. That my journey is uniquely designed, custom made the best for what he's called me to, for the purpose that I carry. The timeline isn't late, it's right on time, no need to worry. Abraham waited 25 years for the promised son, but Isaac's birth was worth it when God's will was done. Hannah prayed for years before she held a Samuel, but that delay made a story an eternal miracle. The longer that you wait, the stronger that you'll be. When the blessing finally comes, you'll fall down on your knees and thank God for the process, for the years it took to grow, cause shallow soil can't hold what deep foundations know. So trust the pace he set, trust the path he's drawn. You're not falling behind, you're right where you belong. I thought I was falling behind, Jesus was building me slowly, cause he knows me, he holds me while I'm comparing my chapter 3 to that chapter 10. God said different books, different journeys. Trust me again, the waiting isn't wasted, the process isn't pain. It's preparation for the promises, the mercy and the rain. That water's what he's planting deep inside my soul. But he was making me whole, 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 making me steady, making me sure, making me someone who can endure. Not just a blessing, but the weight of the call. I thought I was falling behind,
but he was preparing me for it all. But they who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. I'm done racing timelines that were never meant for me. Done measuring my worth by what others gotta see. God's building something lasting, something that won't stay, something that requires time, and time is what it'll take. So I'll trust the slow build, trust the patient hand of a God who's never rushed, never late, always planned. Every detail of my story from beginning to the end. I thought I was falling behind, but Jesus was building me slowly, intentionally rebirthing me exactly the way he planned.
The Lord is my rock, my fortress and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge. Psalm 18:2.
Yeah. When the weight gets heavy and I can't catch my breath, that's when I remember He's my strength when there's nothing left. Bar across my shoulders, weight pressing on my spine, fighting through the tension, one breath at a time. Life imitating, training pressure all around, bills stacking, stress attacking, feel like I might drown. But I learned something crucial underneath that iron weight: how to breathe through chaos, how to stand and not escape. Inhale on the way down, exhale as I rise. Same principle applies when the world's full of lies, telling me I'm failing, telling me I'm through. But I breathe in His promise, breathe out what isn't true. Pressure makes diamonds, He produces gold. The fire that I'm walking through is making me bold, not in my ability, but in who I'm leaning on. Jesus is my oxygen when all my strength is gone. So when anxiety is crushing, when I can't see clear, I remember how to breathe. He casts out every fear. Each breath becomes a prayer. Every inhale brings His peace. In the middle of the pressure, that's where I find release. When the weight of this world tries to bury me alive, I breathe in His presence, that's how I survive. Not fighting in my power, not standing on my own, learning how to lean when I can't stand alone. Breathing through pressure, learning to lean. Promise that I keep when I'm crushed by the moment. Can't carry what I hold, I exhale my control. Let a story be told, not my strength but His power working through my weakness here. Breathing through pressure, 'cause Jesus draws me near. Breathing through pressure, oh. Yeah. Second verse, let me break it down. Pressure's not the enemy, our champions are found. Gold becomes a diamond under years of stress. Grapes become the wine when they go through the press. So when life is squeezing, when it's hard to stand tall, I remember Jesus crushed so I wouldn't have to fall under the weight of sin, under the debt I owed. He carried all the pressure on that Calvary road. Now when I'm underneath my own Gethsemane, sweating drops of worry over what's gonna be, I hear His voice reminding me He's already won. The battle's not dependent on what I have or haven't done. It's finished, it's completed, every fear He's overcome. So I breathe in that victory, let His will be done. Not my time and not my way, but surrendered in that peace. Finding rest inside the storm, that's when pressure starts to cease. Not 'cause circumstances changed, but my perspective shifted. From carrying it all to trusting how He's gifted me with breath, with life, with His Spirit living in. Teaching me that leaning isn't losing, it's how I win. 3 Hebrew boys in the furnace, flames turned up to 7, but the 4th man in the fire brought a little piece of heaven. Pressure didn't break them 'cause they weren't standing alone. Jesus walks through fire with the ones He calls His own. Paul and Silas in the prison, chains around their feet, but they worship through the pressure till the ground began to shake beneath. So when you're in the valley and the pressure's closing in, don't hold your breath and panic, let the worship begin. 'Cause breathing is an act of faith when everything feels tight. Every breath's a declaration, Jesus, you're my light. In the darkness, in the crushing, in the moments I can't see, I breathe because He's breathing resurrection life in me. Pressure, learning to lean on Christ. When the load gets heavy, He's my sacrifice. Gave His life so I could breathe when I'm drowning in the deep. He's my rock, my anchor, the promise that I keep when I'm crushed by the moment. Can't carry what I hold, I exhale my control. Let His story be told, not my strength but His power working through my weakness here. Breathing through pressure, 'cause Jesus draws me near. Breathing through pressure, every inhale is His mercy, every exhale is my trust. Learning how to lean when leaning feels like I must. Surrender all my striving, let Him carry what's too great. through pressure, resting in His grace. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Yeah, I don't have to carry what He's already carried for me. The pressure not a prison, it's where I'm finally free. Stop pretending I'm enough. Stop the masquerade and lean into the only one who's never once been swayed by circumstance or chaos, by the weight of what I face. He holds the universe together, He can handle my small space. So I breathe in and out with faith in every breath, knowing He's the oxygen that conquers even death. Breathing through pressure, not alone, leaning on the rock. Jesus Christ, my fortress. The pressure didn't break me. It taught me how to rest. It taught me how to rest. It taught me how to
Yeah. 5 a.m. alarms, consistency became my creed. The gym taught me discipline, how to show up when I don't feel the need. Learn to track my progress, measure every gain. Show me that small steps, daily build a kingdom from the pain. Structure save my mornings, gave my chaos shape and form. Turn my scattered energy into something that performs. Routine built momentum, habits stacked on habits grew. The gym became the classroom where my character broke through. But somewhere in the repetition, somewhere in the grind, I noticed something deeper working parallel at time. While I was building muscle, God was building up my soul. While I was chasing physique, He was making me whole. The gym gave me a schedule, Jesus gave me a call. The gym made me consistent, Jesus gave it meaning to it all. See, I can have the strongest routine, never miss a single day. But without faith is my foundation, I'm just going through the motions anyway. The gym strengthened my routine, taught me how to be precise. But Jesus strengthened my faith, He became my sacrifice. I learned to show up daily, learned to push through the resistance. But the gym gave me structure, Jesus gave me existence. With purpose, with meaning, with a reason to endure. The routine made me steady, but His love made me sure. The gym strengthened my routine, Jesus strengthened my faith. One taught me how to work, the other showed me grace. Physical got me focused, spiritual made me free. The iron built my body, but Christ built the real me. When discipline met devotion, when the grind met the gospel truth. That's when training became worship, when my faith became the proof that I'm not just building muscle, I'm building for His name. The gym strengthened my routine, Jesus strengthened my race. Let me take it deeper, let me show the parallel. Every squat's a metaphor, every bench press has a tale. The gym taught me that showing up is half the battle won. Jesus taught me that the victory's already been done. On Calvary on the cross, where He finished what He started. Now my daily grind's an echo of a love that's never parted. From me, from my struggle, from my journey through the pain. The gym gave me the framework, Jesus gives it all His name. I learned progressive overload, that way gradually with time. Jesus showed me sanctification, growing daily in the climb. Toward holiness, toward wholeness, toward becoming who He made. The gym taught me patience, but faith taught me how to wait on God. Timing on His promise, on the harvest I can't see. The routine kept me moving forward when my feelings disagree. With my calling, with my purpose, with the mission on my life. But Jesus gave the routine meaning, turned the struggle into strife. Against the enemy, against the doubt that try to steal my joy. Now every rep's a declaration, Satan, you can't destroy what God has built inside of me through trial and through fire. The gym made me disciplined, Jesus took me higher. Daniel prayed 3 times daily, no matter what the law. His routine was his resistance, his faith was without flaw. Jesus in the morning sought His Father in the quiet. For the crowd before the ministry, this will give His purpose right here. Free from all distraction, anchored in the truth. That spiritual disciplines produce eternal fruit. So now I train my body, but I train my spirit too. The gym's my morning temple, but my worship's breaking through every barrier, every limit that this world tries to place on what God can do inside of life. Surrender to His grace. The routine is the vessel, but the faith is what it carries. One without the other leaves me burdened, tired, and weary. But together they're a power that the enemy can't touch. Discipline with devotion that the enemy can touch. The gym strengthened my routine, Jesus strengthened my faith. One taught me how to work, the other showed me grace. Physical got me focused, spiritual made me free. The iron built my body, but Christ built the real me. When discipline met devotion, when the grind met the gospel truth. That's when training became worship, when my faith became the proof that I'm not just building muscle, I'm building for His name. The gym strengthened my routine, Jesus strengthened my faith. Now my routine has a reason, now my structure has a soul. The gym made me consistently, but Jesus made me whole. I train with holy purpose, every set becomes a prayer. The gym strengthened my routine, Jesus met me there. Discipline my body like an athlete.
commanding it to do what it should. 1 Corinthians 9:27.
I have told you these things, so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world. John 16:33. Yeah, I kept running from the chaos, searching for escape. But Jesus said, don't run from it. I'll meet you in that space.
Thought a vacation would fix it, thought a change of scene. With silence, all the noise inside, make everything clean. Booked the flight, pack my bags, try to leave it all behind. But anxiety's a carry-on that follows every time. See, I was treating symptoms while ignoring the disease, thinking distance from my problems will finally bring me peace. But peace ain't found in places, can't be purchased with a trip. Peace is found in presence, Jesus in the thick of it. I was scrolling through escapes, looking for the perfect getaway. But God said, what you running from? I'm trying to heal today, not by removing all the pressure, not by changing your address, but by walking through the fire, turning your chaos into rest. Not the absence of the storm, but the calm within the war. That's the peace that Jesus promised, something deeper than before. So I stopped searching for an exit, stopped trying to press pause, and invited him into the middle of my mess, my flaws. My stress, my overwhelming schedule, my unending to-do list, and discovered that his presence is the break I thought I missed. I was looking for an exit when I needed an encounter, trying to escape the valley when he wanted to empower me to walk through, not around it with his hand inside of mine. I didn't need a break from life, I needed Jesus in this time. I didn't need a break from life, I needed Jesus in it. Not an escape from the chaos, but his peace within the limits of my reality, my struggle, my everyday grind. He didn't come to pull me out, he came to walk beside. When the pressure's overwhelming and I'm searching for relief, the answer isn't running, it's inviting, it's believe. Into every situation, every stress, every fight, I didn't need a break from life, I needed Jesus in my life. Second verse, Revelation coming clear as day. Paul and Silas in that prison didn't try to run away. They worshipped in the chains, praised him in the pain. In the presence of the Lord came down like liberating rain. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, thrown into the flame. Didn't ask for a way out, they just trusted in his name. And Jesus met them in the furnace, walked with them through heat. That's the pattern I kept missing. He don't just give retreat, he gives himself his company. His power in the now, not later when it's easier, but in the struggle, in the how do I survive this moment? How do I make it through? The answer's always Jesus, not a different point of view or a different set of circumstances, different time or place. But Jesus in this moment, Jesus in this space. I was treating life like something I needed saving from. When Jesus came to save me in it, not to make me run from responsibility, from calling from the weight, but to carry it together. That's the truth I celebrate. Now every overwhelming moment is a chance to see him move. Not by changing my surroundings, but by changing what I choose. To focus on his presence or the pressure of the day. One leads to burn out, the other leads to grace display. Jesus didn't promise easy, never said there'd be no pain, but he promised he'd be with us even walking through the rain. I'll never leave you, never forsake, that's the covenant he made. Not I'll remove every hardship, but I'll be there when you're afraid. So stop waiting for the perfect moment when the stress subsides. Invite him to the chaos, watch how he provides. Not escape us, but endurance, not a pause, but his power to transform every burden into worship in this hour. Man, you will meet God with us, now God removes it all. He's present in the struggle, catching us before we fall into despair, into hopelessness, into lies we believe. That peace requires perfection, no peace just needs to receive. His presence in the madness, is calm within the storm. That's the break we're really looking for, his love that keeps us warm. I didn't need a break from life, I needed Jesus in it. Not an escape from the chaos, but it's peace within the limits of my reality, my struggle, my everyday grind. He didn't come to pull me out, he came to walk beside. When the pressure's overwhelming and I'm searching for relief, the answer isn't running, it's inviting, it's belief. Into every situation, every stress, every fight, I didn't need a break from life, I needed Jesus in my life. In my mornings, in my evenings, in the middle of the day. In my victories, my failures, in the words I cannot say. He's the peace I've been pursuing, he's the rest I've been denied. I didn't need a break from life, I needed Jesus inside.
Walk through the door with 1,000-pound weight. Guilt on my back, shame wrapped around my face. Mistakes from the past, playing on repeat. Every failure, every sin making my heart skip a beat. Thought I had to carry it, thought I had to pay the cost. Keep punishing myself for every battle that I lost. To temptation, to addiction, to the person I became. Wearing all my brokenness like it was my real name. But something happened when I stepped into his presence. When I finally brought my mess instead of hiding imperfections. Jesus didn't flinch, didn't turn away in disgust. He said, I've been waiting for you, give me all that crush. Your spirit stole your joy,
convince you that you're done. He reached out his nail-scarred hands and said it's already won. The war you're fighting in your head, the weight you think you bear, I carried it to Calvary, I left it buried there. So why you digging it back up? Why you making it your own? My grace is sufficient, let me carry you back home. I came in burdened, broken, barely holding on, but His grace met me right there, turned my midnight into dawn. Not cause I deserved it, not cause I had earned my place, but because that's who He is. He's the God of amazing grace. I showed up heavy, left light up because of grace. Came in with my burdens, He took them, left no trace. But the guilt and the shame that I've been holding for years, His love washed over me, dried up all my tears. When I walked in, I was sinking. When I left, I could breathe. That's the power of His mercy. That's what happened. You believe that His grace is sufficient for every sin, every mistake. I showed up heavy, left lighter because of grace. Let me paint the picture of what grace really does. It don't just forgive, it restores what was lost to the enemy, stolen by the shame. Grace gives you back your identity, gives you back your name. Not sinner, not failure, not too far gone, but beloved, chosen, righteous, His own. That's the transformation that religion can't produce, cause religion has more weight, but Jesus cut you loose from every chain, every lie, every burden that you bear. He don't just lighten the load, He said was never yours to wear. See, I thought I had to get it right before I could come close, but grace says come as you are, do the most to heal you, to restore you, to make you complete. Not based on your performance, but based on His heartbeat that's been pounding out love since before time began. Grace isn't just a concept, it's the outstretched hand of a Savior who descended, took on flesh and bone, so that we could know the Father, never walk alone. Through the valley, through the darkness, through the weight of this life, grace is the exchange. He took my burden, gave me life. Isaiah said our sins, though the scarlet red is blood, shall be white as snow, and we're covered by His love. That's not earning, that's not working, that's not trying to be good. That's surrender, that's receiving what we never could accomplish on our own, no matter how hard we try. Grace is the gift that says I've already died for every sin you're carrying, every weight upon your soul. Jesus paid it all so we could finally be made whole. Not partially forgiven, not conditionally restored, but completely, fully ransomed. That's the promise of the Lord. So when you come to Him, broken, heavy, laden with your pain, know that you won't leave the same. He'll break every chain that's been holding you captive, keeping you in shame. Grace is the power that restores you in His name. I showed up heavy, left lighter because of grace. Came in with my burdens, He took them, left no trace. But the guilt and the shame that I've been holding for years, His love washed over me, dried up all my tears. When I walked in, I was sinking. When I left, I could breathe. That's the power of His mercy. That's what happened. You believe that His grace is sufficient for every sin, every mistake. I showed up heavy, left lighter because of grace. Left lighter because He's stronger than my past could ever be. Left lighter cause His blood has set this captive free. No more carrying what He's already carried to the grave. I showed up heavy, left lighter because of grace. If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just, and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. 1 John 1:9. I don't have to carry it anymore. The weight I thought defined me, the shame I thought would find me, He took it all, left nothing but freedom. That's grace. Not just forgiveness, but transformation. Not just pardon, but restoration. I walked in heavy chains on my feet, walked out dancing, finally complete. Not in myself, but in what He's done. I showed up heavy, left lighter because of grace. And that grace has a name. Jesus Christ, the burden bearer, the shame destroyer, the grace giver. I came heavy, I left free. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. Yeah. I spent years drowning out the noise inside my head, but the moment I got still, Jesus met me there instead. Jesus met me there instead. Hey. phone in my hand, scrolling just to stay distracted. Earbuds and volume up, anything to keep me from the sadness that lurks beneath the surface when the world gets quiet. So I fill every moment, create my own mental riot to avoid the confrontation with the thoughts I'm scared to face. Question about my purpose, doubts about my place, regrets that keep resurfacing no matter how I try to bury them in busyness and never ask them why they won't leave me alone. Why they haunt me in the night, why anxiety attacks me when I finally turn off the lights. I was running from myself, running from the pain, running from the trauma that I couldn't explain to anyone, including me. So I just stayed in motion, used activity as anesthesia, numbed out every emotion. But Jesus whispered softly through the chaos I had made, come and sit with me, don't be afraid of what you'll find when silence comes. When stillness takes place, I'm here to walk you through it. That's my definition of grace. I was terrified of quiet, terrified of what I find in the corners of my consciousness, the chambers of my mind. But he said, I'll sit beside you, won't leave you on your own. And for the first time, I wasn't facing my thoughts alone. I start running from my thoughts, Jesus sat with me through. I start running from my thoughts, Jesus sat with me in the silence and the stillness where I didn't want to be. He didn't judge the chaos or the darkness that I found. He just held me in his presence, that's where healing came around. When I finally faced the pain, instead of pushing it away, he was there to catch my tears, heard every word I couldn't say. Not running anymore, not hiding from the truth. I start running from my thoughts, Jesus sat with me through. Second verse, deeper healing, let me testify about the freedom that I found when I stopped living a lie. Pretending I was fine, pretending I had it all together, when inside I was breaking under pressure and the weather of depression, of anxiety, of unresolved pain, of questions with no answers, driving me insane. But the moment I got honest, dropped the mask, let down my guard, admitted to myself and God that living this way was hard. That's when transformation started happening for real. Not when I was perfect, but when I let myself feel everything I've been avoiding, every wound I wouldn't touch. Jesus sat beside me and said, this ain't too much for me to handle, for my grace to cover and restore. I'm not intimidated by what you've been running from before. So let's sit here together, let's process all this pain, let's bring light to every shadow. You don't have to run again. And something shifted deeply when I learned to just be still, to stop the constant movement and surrender to his will. Not just for my future, but for this present moment here, where healing meets the brokenness and love casts out the fear. Elijah ran into the wilderness, wanted just to die, but God sent an angel, gave him rest, didn't ask him why. He was feeling hopeless, just provided what he needed, rest in food and presence. That's how God proceeded to restore a broken prophet who had nothing left to give. Reminded him that running wasn't the only way to live. Jesus in Gethsemane faced his darkest thoughts and fears. Sweat drops turned to blood, but the Father drew him near. Not by taking away the cup, but by giving him the strength to walk through what was coming. When to win he lived, to be present in the suffering, to sit with the unknown. That's the God who meets us when we stop running on and on our own. From the thoughts that need attention, from the pain that needs his touch. He's not afraid of our darkness, yeah. He proved that at the cross, yeah. I start running from my thoughts, Jesus sat with me in the silence and the stillness where I didn't want to be. He didn't judge the chaos or the darkness that I found. He just held me in his presence, that's where healing came around. When I finally faced the pain, instead of pushing it away, he was there to catch my tears, heard every word I couldn't say. Not running anymore, not hiding from the truth. I start running from my thoughts, Jesus sat with me through every memory, every wound, every question in my mind. He didn't rush the process, he just stayed there patient, kind. Turn anxiety into worship, turning pain into prayer. I start running from my thoughts, cause Jesus met me there.
Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. So pray to my 23-24.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Yeah, I chased every goal, stacked every achievement high, but purpose didn't come from what I did, it came from Thought if I got stronger, leaner, faster than before, I'd finally find the meaning that I've been searching for. Set my goals, wrote them down, tracked every single thing. Thought accomplishment was purpose, thought results would ease the pain of feeling empty. Even when the victory was mine, hit my target, weighed my PR, but something wasn't right inside. The satisfaction faded quick as it came, left me chasing something deeper than a number or a name on a leaderboard. A podium, a stage where people clap, but when the crowd went home, I was still caught in the trap of thinking purpose was a destination I could reach if I just worked hard enough, if I just practiced what I preach about discipline and grind, about never giving up. But I was filling up my schedule while my soul stayed empty, stuck in the cycle of achieving just to feel like I'm alive, until Jesus broke the pattern, said, let me show you why you were created, what you're made for. It's not about the grind, it's about relationship with me, that's where you'll find the purpose that you're searching for in every earthly thing. I'm the source, I'm the meaning, I'm your everything. I was building my identity on what I could achieve, but Jesus said your purpose isn't found in what you believe you can do, it's found in who I am and what I've done. I'm your purpose, I'm your meaning, I'm the reason you were born. Training didn't give me purpose, Jesus did. Gave my life direction when I was just a wanted kid, chasing every high, every medal, every win. But purpose isn't found in goals, it's found in Him. He's the reason I exist, the answer to my why. Not the weights I lift, not the records that I try to break. It's the relationship with the one who made me whole. Training didn't give me purpose, Jesus saved my soul. Let me break it down, let me paint the fullest scene of what happens when your purpose gets attached to earthly things. You'll always need another achievement to maintain the high, always need external validation just to feel alive. I was addicted to the progress, to the visible results. But what happens when you're injured? What happens when you're old? What happens when the body that you built starts breaking down? If that's your purpose, you'll be lost when it's not around. But Jesus offers something that the gym could never give, a reason for existence that transcends the way I live. Physically, He's after something deeper, something eternal, purpose rooted in His love, not in my performance journal. See, training taught me discipline, and discipline is good, but discipline without direction leaves you misunderstood about what you're really building and what you're working toward. Is it your glory or His kingdom? Who you really training for? That's the question that transformed entire approach. Now I train because I'm called to do what He's given, not to boast in my abilities, my aesthetics or my strength, but to honor Him with everything. That's purpose at full length, and not shortened to results, not measured by the scale, but measured by obedience, by faith that will not fail, to keep me anchored to the mission that He's placed inside my soul. Training is a tool now, but Jesus is my goal. Paul said, for to me to live is Christ and to die is gain. That's the perspective shift that breaks the earthly chain of thinking. Purpose comes from anything we do or build. True purpose is in knowing Christ, surrender to His will. Solomon had everything, wisdom, wealth, and fame. Built kingdoms, wrote the Proverbs, everybody knew his name. But at the end of Ecclesiastes, here's what he concluded: fear God and keep His commandments, nothing else included will satisfy the longing that you have for something more. That's the revelation that I've been searching for. Not in another workout, not in one more perfect week, but in the presence of the Savior who created me unique, with gifts and with a calling that go deeper than the gym. My purpose isn't self-improvement, my purpose is in Him, to know Him and to make Him known in everything I do. That's the purpose training couldn't give, but Jesus brought me to.